all, coming to you from Jacksonville, Florida, this is GovLove, a podcast about local government brought to you by engaging local government leaders. I'm Ben Kittelson, manager at Telus and GovLove co-host. And let me tell you, we have a great episode for you today. We're going to be talking with a longtime friend of the pod, and we're going to be discussing becoming a first-time county manager, plus so many other things with a great guest. But first, the best way to support GovLove is to become an ELGL member. Engaging Local Government Leaders is a professional association engaging the brightest minds in local government. And if you haven't registered already, you should go register for ELGL's 2025 conference, October 1st through 3rd. Camp GovLife will be in Santa Rosa, California. And whether you're a seasoned local government pro or a first-time camper, Camp GovLife is the perfect place to learn, grow, and make memories with your fellow public servants. You can go to elgl.org to sign up today. We're also celebrating 10 years of local government stories through GovLove, which is unbelievable, and we'll talk a little about that with our guest today. But as part of celebrating 10 years of podcasting, we've opened up the GovLove hotline for our listeners, for our friends of the pod. So you can call 720-282-1752. Tell us what you think some of the the biggest trends of the last 10 years have been that have impacted you in your work. And also what you think local government will be like in another 10 years. Or just share your thoughts on how great of a host you think I am. Now, let me introduce today's guest. Josh Edwards is the county manager of York County, South Carolina, a position he's been in since April 2024. Previously, he served as assistant manager for Athens, Clarke County, Georgia, where he was for 5 years. And he also led strategic planning and innovation work for the city of Durham, North Carolina. With that, Josh, welcome to GovLove. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, Ben, it's great to be here. As always, lifelong friend of the pod from the very beginning. I remember the early days of you walking into the Durham City Hall for one of your first interviews, I think. I think we might have hung out for lunch afterwards. So yeah, I've been here since the beginning, and I can't believe it's been this long. Y'all have done an amazing job, and all of us out in local government, we're so thankful for the commitment y'all have put into this podcast.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. And Josh has been a 2-time guest. He came on back in for the first time. I delayed for a long time letting Josh be on the pod.
I can understand that. That makes sense to me.
But he came on the first time in 2019 with some colleagues from Olathe, Kansas to talk about, I think it was strategy and innovation work and performance measurement with the ClearPoint folks when we were down in, I think it was the Transforming Local Government Conference in Reno, Nevada.
Yes, that smoky conference. I remember that.
Smoky conference. Don't host your conference at a casino.
Very innovative. Yes, the home of the aces.
Yes. And then you were on last year, actually, before you took on this current job to talk about your work in Athens, Clarke County. So longtime friend, multiple guests. You've also, I think, peered in on me when I was recording many of these interviews in my office in Durham through the window of that door, if memory serves. So.
Oh, yes, that's right.
All right. So it wouldn't be a GovLove podcast if I didn't have a couple of lightning round questions for you. So my first one, what's the first concert that you went to? I don't think we've covered this before on the pod.
It's always an interesting question because, you ask this to a lot of the guests. If I were to really think, probably be my parents were Kenny Rogers fans. And I think they took us to a Kenny Rogers concert. I vaguely remember that. I'm going way back in my memory. But the first one that I literally chose was probably Blues Traveler.
Oh, nice.
Early 90s. They were great. One of those where your mom has to go and sit in the audience in the back.
With you.
Yeah, exactly. That was the first one I really chose with my friends. John Popper, early years with his harmonica, amazing concert.
Yeah.
They've done good stuff. I think some people, they listen to Hook and all that stuff, but they never really explored the later albums. So, if I'm going to give some recommendations to folks, go check out Straight Until Morning on your Spotify. Check it out. You'll thank me later. Thank you.
Get to the B-sides of Blues Traveler,
That's right. That's right. Forgotten, but great.
That's perfect. All right. And then what book are you currently reading?
I don't know if this is a getting older thing. I don't know, if this is happening to you. I've never really read biographies.
Oh, yeah.
Then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, man, I could use a good biography in my life. It's like one of those weird feelings. Give me a cup of tea and a biography. Things are getting lame at my house, I guess. But I read recently. It's called Love Is Always, Kurt, but it's a biography about Vonnegut,
Oh, okay.
and then that which was good. And then I'm a little late to this party, but my kids love the Hamilton soundtrack and the musical, and so I'm reading the Hamilton biography now that inspired it all. So
Oh, nice. Okay.
checking that out. It's a little thick. Working my
Yeah,
way through it slowly.
yeah. I might have to check out the Vonnegut biography. Okay.
Oh yeah, I think you'd like it. But hey, you know what I really need to do? Shameless plug for all the David Ammons fans out there. You know, if I'm telling you what book I'm loving the most, it's got to be his new Improving Local Government Performance Through Benchmarking.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
if you're
gotta have
looking
another
for a read on the
benchmarking book.
beach,
Yeah.
y'all, pick that up. So just came out. It's a good one, of course. It's probably one of his last big statement books. So definitely bought it and reading through it. And we're going to use it here at York
Yeah.
County for sure.
Are you at the level of UNC MPA alumni where they're asking for your like blurb on his books, or is that?
No, I know some of our friends might be there. They like to remind us about that. No, I was not asked for that. I'm flipping to the back to see if any of our friends are in there. But yes, no, I'm not to that level. But we can all hope for that someday.
Yeah, exactly. One day.
Once I get there, I think I'll just retire and go do something else.
Yeah, that's the time. Oh, I love that. Oh my god, yeah. Biographies haven't come for me yet, but I think becoming like full dad like comes in waves. Like I'm I've got the grill now. I'm like really obsessed with the grill. Like
Oh
doing
yeah,
the
you're
yard work.
getting close to
like,
biography land. You are.
It's coming for me. It's a matter of time.
It'll be there.
Awesome. Well, in this last linear question, which I added to my regular questions for everybody, I think came from Josh, came from you. Where do you go for inspiration? Especially, now that you're in a new place from the last time we talked, where do you go for inspiration now?
One of the things that drew us to York County was the natural beauty. So we definitely, as a family, go to the outdoors. We've got Lake Wiley here. We've got the Catawba River. So we've actually gotten into kayaking, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Haven't made it to the Whitewater Center yet, but that's on our list once we get a little bit better. But we're spending more and more time outdoors, and the kids are getting older. Again, this getting older thing, I'm like starting to look at RVs. I don't know if I told you I got a truck now. So that's the step one to getting an RV is having a truck to pull it.
Exactly.
So we're spending a lot of time outdoors, and my parents are a lot closer. They live outside of Boone. So going up to Boone, driving through the mountains, going on hikes, that's definitely where we get our inspiration as a family.
That's perfect. Yeah. And kayaking, that's a great family thing. Now that your kids are old enough to do that.
We'll bring them down to Florida.
Yeah. Oh, there's lots of kayaking down here. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you can see some gators and some turtles.
You know Noah. He wants to get back, see Uncle Ben.
Heck yeah, we gotta go. We go to the zoo all the time now. He'd love it. So we're there every weekend.
It's still in his top 3 zoos. I don't know why, but yeah.
All right, so we're gonna spend most of our conversation talking about your time at York County and that transition to becoming a manager for the first time. But I mentioned at the top, it's been 10 years of GovLove, and for our listeners, as part of that, our year-long celebration, I'm going back and talking to a series of our former guests that I think have been really thoughtful and good friends of the pod, but also just folks that I want to hear more from. And Josh is one of those. So I'm curious, as you reflect on maybe the last 10 years of your career or 10 years of government, like what as local government has changed a lot in that time. I think we've documented that in this podcast and also just in our work. I think both of us. What do you think some of the biggest changes are to the organizations you've worked with, or challenges that they're still dealing with, like over the kind of last 10 years? What are some of the things that stick out to you?
Yeah, government over the last 10 years, it's changed a lot. I think technology has obviously infused itself in government in new ways, which has really helped. I think engagement and interaction with residents and their interest in government or distrust of government continues to be a theme. So I think when you think about those two things, and then you marry with that the challenges government has in recruiting. I think those really are the dynamics we face. So what what was occurring early in my career when I got out, I started in local government right before the Great Recession. So my first job, uh, we were really involved in cutting budgets.
Mm.
And then the country came out of that Great Recession, and there was the opportunity to dream and do new things. And I think that the difference in the last 10 years is we've been in this place where we're constantly trying to improve, but what people's expectations are for government has changed.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think you can use those same three things that have changed. So there used to be an interest to sign up for government. There used to be a passion coming out of college where people are like, oh, hey, this is something I want to do. There's the opportunity for service. I could see myself in a career here. I think now, because there's so many different dynamics to careers and how people pursue their passions, it's much more challenging for local government to make a case for young professionals.
Yeah.
I don't think we've been able to adjust to private sector competition where there's much more flexibility, but more than anything, there's an opportunity to see yourself moving quicker up an organization.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great point.
And so I think we're going to have to continue to struggle as local government to figure out ways to make the case to younger folks that they can spend a career in local government. They can do a variety of things. They don't have to stick to one department. We have 20 departments that do a lot of different things, and you can find a variety in one organization, but move around.
Yeah.
We have to be able to reestablish who we are as government and the why behind it. And I think that's easier said than done. I've seen some organizations in local government working really hard to reestablish this, but I don't know if anybody's got the answer yet. In terms of the technology, when I look back 10 years ago and where we're at now, our ability to analyze information and develop assessments, look for efficiencies, train employees on technology, change interactions with residents, roll out new ERP systems. There's an abundance of technology, and government's got that opportunity to really make a great experience for customers and residents.
Yeah.
If we're willing to make that investment. So that's a big change in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot I want to pick up on there. I think you're right. Especially the career piece. And you mentioned like you can have a really varied career in one organization if you're willing to. I think, and I've experienced this both in the organizations I work for in local government, and also the clients that we've worked with that tell us that that's a fundamental rethinking of the local government job from an organization perspective. I think the assumption is when you take a job from the organization's perspective that you're going to be in that job until you retire. Or you might move up in a very direct path from budget analyst to senior budget analyst to budget manager to assistant director to director over the course of 20 or 30 years. And not everybody can do that, right? There's only so many of those leadership roles. And I think it's interesting, this, I've done a little like casual job searching, and if you don't have some of those like kind of traditional path, it's harder for people to even understand, how you fit in an opening or how you fit into a role that they might have. And it's organizations are more used to, and I think I've had the pleasure of, 30 years of folks who have plenty of candidates that have come up a traditional path, they can use to fill their roles. And so now in an era when you have to be more competitive and be more creative, and I think the organizations need to kind of rethink that in a lot of ways. But I don't know what you think of that.
No, I agree. I think if we're going to be sustainable as local government, we need to rethink it. But we're also and I see this in our hirings here, we're going to be hiring people from the private sector, and people are going to have a higher variety of experiences in their careers.
Yeah.
Where they might have tried 3 different things before they make it to local government, and they're coming in as a assistant director, and they're bringing different skill sets than we would typically see. But when they're here, we realize, hey, that's somebody that can really help transform the organization and provide a high level of service.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think it's interesting, the 2 trends you touched on. There's a before COVID and after COVID to both of those.
Right. Definitely.
It's crazy to think about the job market, because I went in to local government during the Great Recession, I guess. I don't know what 2014. Some places it still felt like the recession was ongoing. But and so like how competitive it was, how like hard it was to get your foot in the door, versus now, and maybe this is changing now in the year 2025, but over the last couple of years since the pandemic, like the options available for people, the different places and the different hiring like opportunities that there were, plus the like the ability to like negotiate a salary, an entry level job, like that's crazy. But like that kind of how much that changed, and same with technology. Like even in an innovative place like Durham, there was a lot of kind of like things that around technology that was just, oh, we can't do that yet. We're not ready for that yet. And then all of a sudden you have to be ready. And I've seen this a lot of the organizations I've worked with at Ref tell us that like there's a whole different world of use of technology now than there would have been if, the pandemic never happened, and you kind of continued the trajectory that as it was in 2019.
I completely agree. And I think trust and distrust of government factor into folks' career choices too. I think in my time in local government, people have come and gone, and one of the reasons they do is because we get worn out. We get worn out with how we're treated. We get worn out by the distrust. I think what I've realized is it's an opportunity every day to show people what we're doing, why we're doing it, and that we're building something with them. We have to be willing to do the hard work to show folks that this is something we're doing together. This is not something that local government's doing to you. This is about building community.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, that wears you out when sometimes that's not received the same way, and you've got to figure out how you make it through those valleys in life.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you've got to have a good group around you of local government friends who can point you to the times when you've not been in the valley but you've been in the mountains. I think that's important. I think LinkedIn is obviously a good place for that for me. I think there's a lot of folks on LinkedIn who've been through it and are open to sharing that, and that's definitely encouraging. But I think it's a profession that if you're in it to get thanked, you're probably not going to last.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. If local government, I always think if local government's doing the job right, like people aren't even ever thinking about it, right? The water's there, the streets are paved, like
that's it.
The parks are immaculate. Like it's like just part of the foundation of a community. I don't know. What you said is really interesting around. We're not doing this to you, and I think sometimes I feel like there can be a tension there between we want to be building community with residents as a local government, but also we have expertise as professionals in this field, and like we know what works in other places or what might work here, and there's like I think you have to be flexible and maybe humble enough to be like that perspective, even though it's not an expert in public administration and local government operations, that the experience of a resident, they've got their own perspective on what's valuable here and what makes sense here that has to be incorporated into that professional view. And I think, I don't know, sometimes I think about in my career, like when people get really frustrated or caught up, it's like, you're not flexible enough or humble enough to like, to be open to that change. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, for us here at York County, I think the shift we've tried to make is the investment in quality of life. And so
Yeah.
county of 300,000 people, rapid growth, border county, North Carolina. A lot of our folks drive in to Charlotte to work. What we're trying to do is really make the case that we're going to invest in our county so that people have jobs here, so they don't have to drive to Charlotte. Encourage that quality of life where they can work and live here. And we're doing that through, change the way we do economic development, investing in a parks infrastructure. It wasn't that long ago that the county didn't even have a parks department, and now we've doubled the amount of staff in 2 years. So really trying to transition to encouraging a higher quality of life, so that we're drawing businesses and we're drawing jobs so that people can work and live here, not just live here. But that was something we really pulled from residents. I mean, that's a desire that residents have, is they're on I-77 in traffic every day. There's that opportunity to picture yourself riding a bike down a bike path to work, instead of sitting on a freeway waiting for traffic. So there's that opportunity. But if you don't start investing in that infrastructure, that vision will never happen.
Yeah. Well said. Well, and a perfect transition to your current role from our kind of more broad conversation. So I'm curious about kind of some of the major elements of your first year on the job, like the Parks Department. But can we go back just a little bit before we get into that? So I'm curious about the search and like how you came to York County, how you got to know the organization. So I don't know, if you could rewind, not quite a little over a year ago and think back to then, like, what were you looking for in that search? And then maybe how'd you get to know York County and decide that was the place for you, back in the age old time of early 2024.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a couple pieces to that, and you visited Athens a couple times. Mm-hmm. You know how special Athens, Georgia is. Go Dogs, and got to say that every time you say Athens.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go Dogs, and we had an amazing time there as a family. A vibrant college town. It was definitely on my bucket list to work in a college town, and it was a great experience. Worked for a great manager, in Blaine Williams. And we had a great team, learned a ton. It was a vibrant community, and it was a great place to be. I think when you're in an environment where you're learning and you've got the opportunity to work with a variety of departments, sometimes you wonder what it would be like when to go learn about another organization.
Yeah.
And I think what happened for me between Durham and then Athens was I was working in organizations that had really built out their structure, built out how they do things, built out their culture. And what I was hungry for was the opportunity to go to a place where I could speak into that. So many of our local governments, when you think about North Carolina, a lot of the places we know there, they've already done all the things.
Yeah.
And I was at a point in my career in Athens when I was thinking about next steps that I wanted to have an entrepreneurial opportunity to go to a place that needed to work through some of those things.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking for jobs, I was really looking for that opportunity. And I think that definitely played to my strengths, because strategic planning, performance measurement, kind of building a structure, some of that organizational theory stuff, those were things I'd worked on at all my stops in my career. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to try to apply those things to a new place and a new team. And that was one of the biggest draws to York County. A fast-growing community, an amazing location geographically. South Carolina is beautiful, mm-hmm. right next to Charlotte, home of Charlotte FC, which you've never been to an MLS game. Stop hating on American soccer. I'm coming for you. So there is so much going for this community. The other thing
Yeah.
that's amazing, and this is what I learned in Athens. I love being in a place that has a diversity of regions. So Athens is centrally located in the county, and outside of it is rural.
Yeah.
And York County is very similar. It's a lot bigger, 700 square miles, but so much of York County is still agriculture.
Hmm.
And so you've got 9 municipalities, but you also have a lot of rural areas that we're working hard to make sure continue to be rural. And that's very important to the community. You've got 2 rivers in the Broad and the Catawba that border it, and you've got highway access on either side too. So I think there's just a lot of opportunity for this area to be more intentional and try to do things around growth, quality of life that really continue to keep the character of York County the same, but add some quality of life in areas that they might not have had parks or might not have had infrastructure. And so I was looking for that challenge. York County fit the bill. But the other part of that is, I don't know if you remember Monica Chaparro.
Yeah.
She I think she's been on the podcast before. If not, you should definitely sign her up. She's in Virginia Beach now.
Mm-hmm.
But she was in my class at UNC MPA. Go Heels.
Go Heels.
And she has this love affair with Rock Hill. Okay, so she was always talking about Rock Hill back then. I think she went to school here, and she was an intern at Rock Hill, all that. So she always talked about Rock Hill. So over the years, Allie and I, we've stopped by, we've been in York County, we've seen it, so we were familiar with it, and that was so I knew about it, and I'd seen it, and I knew the potential of this area.
Yeah. And then once you're kind of in the door, or you made the decision, you're like, hey, this is the kind of community I want to lead an organization in a place where, you can kind of push yourself. How do you get to know the organization? And then, and I think it's interesting, you mentioned it's fast growing, because I know from having worked with some communities like that are fast growing, that there's a tension there between the folks who remembered how it was and the folks that want to see it continue to grow. And so how'd you get to know an organization like that, and then get the people in place that you need in place, and also kind of work through maybe what I assume there might be some tension with some of that fast growth?
Yeah. So the opportunity to come in from the outside and get to know an organization, it's a tall order, but it makes for opportunities throughout, because what you really have to do is humble yourself and get to know people as individuals and build relationships, because in local government, we know this, you have so many staff that have given their whole careers to one community, and they know it in and out. They know the community, they know the needs, and as a new person coming in, you will never have that knowledge. And so we are so dependent on employees who have given their careers to organizations to speak into the work. And so getting the opportunity to learn from people, one of the things I try to do was just spend time out in the field. One of the funnest afternoons I spent was with one of our building inspectors.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And he just introduced me as a trainee to the residents we ran into out there, and we had an amazing time seeing him work and learning from him. I think getting to spend time with our public works department, getting to know their employees. They have a backhoe rodeo. Just getting to know folks who are out there every day, engaging with our solid waste and collections folks. There's so many opportunities to learn from employees, and I think that's where I really tried to start. I also really worked hard to get to know our directors, and one of the things we did this year was we went through the leadership challenge,
Huh.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Cousins and Posner. It's another classic. I didn't want to be a real nerd and mention that at the top, but I did
Yeah.
read that recently too.
Got to bury that, minute 30 in the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Nobody will get to this minute. So we went through that book over 4 retreats this year. And so really trying to build relationships based on what we're trying to do together. So learning from folks about their experience. We've got a great department director team here. But then saying, okay, here's your experience. Here's what you've learned. Here's what you've been doing. Let's apply some new leadership techniques to that. Let's develop a strategic plan together for the organization. After we're done with that, let's make sure every department has a departmental strategic plan and make sure you're doing that with your staff. So we've layered those 2 things on. Then we've layered on a leadership development program that hasn't been done here before. And all of a sudden, we're focused on doing the things we know we need to do with some new tools and a vision in front of us that we can measure. Yeah. And I think that's where you've got to respect the experience in an organization when you're new, and then you've got to think about how you structure things around that experience to help escalate and implement the things that need to be implemented.
Yeah. It's funny. I was actually talking with a colleague about this recently, where the value of the strategic plan and then those cascading departmental plans is as much in like allowing you to say no to other things as it is in like what you're going to do, right? Because if you don't have a plan, then anything is possible, and you can add anything to the list, and anything that an elected official or resident suggests might be doable. But by having an organized plan to say this is what we're working towards, you can then kind of focus and push some of those other things away, which there's some organizations that I've worked with recently where like that's the ultimate value. It's like allowing you to like, hey, let's center in on the core things that are most valuable to us, rather than kind of going off after every squirrel or whatever.
Yeah, you can't do everything, and if you're going to do anything well, you've got to be committed to it. You can't do things quickly in government. They've got to be rooted, analyzed, tested, implemented, and you've got to think about how it's going and how you can improve it. So often we're trying to do everything, and then you do nothing well.
Mm-hmm. So what was that first strategic planning process like? I know it was new for the organization. So like, how did you kind of build buy-in for that process? How do you, make sure all the voices that need to be at the table are at the table and all that?
The uniqueness about York County was that the county council really wanted a strategic plan, and they made that clear to me in the hiring process. And so they were bought in. Yeah. Oftentimes, one of your hardest challenges is getting the buy-in of the elected officials. But they saw the need for more planning because they have the vision of getting some very big things done in the future. And so they put in the time. I think where we had to build capacity was in the organization because there wasn't a lot of strategic planning occurring. So spending time with our staff, and I did this in Athens too, you don't have to be a strategic planning expert to do a strategic plan. There's so much opportunity for local government folks to pick up a skill set just by doing in strategic planning. And you saw this firsthand in Durham when you helped with the strategic plan. Mm-hmm. And so our budget director, she hadn't done strategic planning before here, but she came alongside me. She led the initiative. Now she's a strategic planning expert. Yeah. I can back off and focus on other things. She can definitely the next update. She's the day-to-day person on the strategic plan with our gold champions here. And she's helping to implement the structure so that we ensure that we're actually doing what we said we would do. And in Athens, that's the same thing. We created the capacity in an organization to do strategic planning. And I think that's a lifelong skill set that if you're looking for career advancement will help anybody. Yeah. But we're trying to build teams here, cross-departmental teams. And to me, the strategic plan is a culture change document as well. And that's the other benefit. So it gives you priority and prioritization, but it also helps you speak into the culture of an organization. So, we're trying to do more process improvement here, use data to inform decisions. We've built a lot of that into our high performing organization goal, where we're going to develop our own kind of peak program and do more professional development for employees, because that hasn't necessarily been a priority here. We're going to build out some organizational development infrastructure and really invest in in our folks so that they can continue to invest in the organization.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. And you're right. Like building that into the organization, that's how you make it sustainable. And I think you're exactly right that it's a professional development piece too. So you mentioned that organizational development component, and then you've talked already about parks. And I know from talking to you, before we started recording, that fire and EMS is an element, and transportation. Like, so what are some of the, how are you capturing some of these like trends or some of these big buckets of work in the strategic plan?
Right. So you asked a question about being in a high growth county. So
yeah,
the growth shows itself in a number of ways. And so there's that, and definitely there's conflict with growth. And even the people that just move here don't like growth, right?
Yeah.
So
they want the county to stay the way they moved, the way it was.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So growth shows itself in new builds and new developments popping up and construction everywhere, but it also shows itself in transportation challenges. It shows itself in other level of service challenges, and fire and EMS is one of those. So when you're in a fast growing community, you have to make sure that you're providing the infrastructure for public safety, that you're providing the infrastructure for quality of life and for transportation. Transportation, we're fortunate to have a penny sales tax that goes towards transportation. We're, I think, the first county in South Carolina to do that. This is common in Georgia. Mm-hmm. I know some of the folks in North Carolina have this as well. Mecklenburg County is trying to add to theirs, which is all over the news up here. But for us, the challenge really is on a state level for transportation. And every state's different, but South Carolina has been playing catch up on their infrastructure network. And they've been doing a great job. So if you've driven up and down 85 over the last 5-10 years, 95 as well, like there's construction everywhere, but they're playing catch up and they're investing in the infrastructure. Because the states had to shift to the major highways the past few years, that's left some challenges for the counties to pick up. So thankfully we've had pennies, and we're very proud that our referendum, our last one, 71% approval ratings. That was the best in the state.
That's great.
When a number of counties failed, we continue to get high numbers because people see the investment and the improvement in our roads. So we have a great commitment from our residents there, and they understand that's one of the major challenges we have. So they're willing to invest in. But one of the challenges that comes with that is, we've got a major highway in I-77, and the county is responsible for working with the state on a number of interchanges. So high growth areas in Fort Mill and Rock Hill that need interchange improvements because the interchanges can't handle all the traffic coming on and off the highway. Those are our county initiated projects. And so working with the State Infrastructure Bank, working with the DOT, these are complicated projects that have seen astronomical increases after COVID.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at projects that have doubled in cost. And so how do you afford that? How do you engage with stakeholders to make sure that these projects still get done? Thankfully, some of these costs are starting to come down a little bit, but nobody knows how tariffs could impact steel prices in 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of unknowns still in construction, but the counties in South Carolina play a big role in interchanges, and that's been something that's been interesting and challenging, but also very rewarding, and we're continuing to work on that. And then thinking about roads and county roads, when you have state roads, county roads, municipal roads, there's so much coordination that goes on the transportation network to make sure that all the roads are up to standards and built to last. So that's a big thing to think about. In terms of fire and EMS, we have 16 fire chiefs in York County.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we got 4 school districts too, but 16 fire chiefs.
Volunteer?
And, no, not all volunteer. Some are professional. There's a mix. Some are tax districts, and some are municipal.
Yeah.
So working in coordination is very important. We've got a rural fire tax that gets distributed as well. We've got a fire services director that's helping to coordinate all of this.
Wow.
And our main focus from the county's perspective is, how do we make sure that we're increasing the level of service, that no matter where you're making a call, you're going to get the same level of service? How do we get there? EMS is another thing where you've got a growing county. Everywhere I've worked, EMS has been set up differently, but in Georgia and here, EMS has been run by hospitals.
Yeah.
So here we've got a hospital that runs EMS for us, but typically in South Carolina, you'll find a lot of involvement from the counties, and so we're engaging with our EMS providers to continue to think about, how do we improve the structure? How do we improve the level of service? What does it look like in 10 years versus now? So we are really trying to think about fire and EMS in a 10-year perspective to make sure that we're going to address the challenges that come with growth, with more calls, with more traffic, and how do we get there?
Yeah. Well, imagine one of the challenges, particularly with fire and EMS, in a place like York, where you mentioned, part of it is agricultural and rural, is that it's probably unrealistic that the same level of service can exist in a rural part of the county as, in Fort Hill, or I don't know if I got the name, in
Fort
one
Mill.
of the cities, or Fort Mill, or in one of the cities. Like, so how do you kind of balance that as like, hey, there's this, we have to have a countywide perspective, but we have to be realistic about, right? Standing up the same level of service in a rural part of an area is much different, and probably less cost effective than it would be in a more urban setting.
Completely agree. Great question. That's the inner analyst in you.
Yeah.
So one of the first dashboards we created when I got here, our GIS team, was around that very topic. So you can use the NFPA, which is the fire standards, national fire standards, and you can look at 3 different types of places. So they break it out based on urban, suburban, and rural. So yeah, you're completely right. When I say level of service of fire, I'm thinking about the level of service outlined in the national standards for that
type of. Okay.
Yeah, and our challenge is, so urban, we have unincorporated urban, dense areas outside of Fort Mill, the way that this area developed. We have that type of infrastructure outside of Rock Hill. And so we've got tax districts and rural fire tax funding going to areas that are very urban. We've got a ton of suburban areas and areas that are becoming more suburban outside of the municipalities. And so those really are our opportunities to make sure we're providing the type of service that you would expect in an area that's changing from, that's in a transition time. But out in the rural part of the county, it will be rural for some time. So it will look very different. The level of service will be very different. And so much of that's based on infrastructure. If you don't have the ability to have water and sewer, you're not going to see high density growth, and you're not going to need full-time fire service. But we've slowly been incorporating firefighters that are county firefighters that work during the day out in the rural areas, because that's when your volunteers are at work. And so we cover those day shifts in a much broader area And then when volunteers are home, when they're no longer working at their farm late at night, and they can respond, which is a hard job to do. You work all day and then you got to wake up in the middle of the night as a volunteer firefighter. Then we're not those positions aren't working during the night. So
yeah, that makes sense. I like that my brain combined the two names of your cities.
Fort Hill. That's good.
Yeah.
I think we need to start one. We need a 10th municipality. Let's call it Fort Hill.
Then it could go Rock Mill next. And just see
That's it. Let's really confuse people. I love that idea. Hey, you know what that is? Yeah. That's dad brain right there.
Exactly.
You're juggling a lot of things right now, so I'm impressed.
Yeah, for our listeners, the baby's just off screen as we're talking, and she's calmed down. It's good. But
man, she's great. I'm impressed. It really takes after her parents for sure.
Yeah, very laid back so far.
Yeah, that's right.
So what other element of organizational development and strategic planning is like organizational values? And so before we recorded, you mentioned that you'd kind of done this as like maybe a separate process from the strategic plan. So can you talk about why that ended up being separate from the strategic plan, and then what kind of the process y'all went through to adopt your values?
Yeah, when we were working with the organization on the strategic plan, one thing that kept coming up was we don't have organizational values. We were not able to talk about who we are. We don't have an identity. And every organization has values. They're not written down. They have an identity, but they're not communicated. And so it's so important that you give your employees the opportunity to tell their community who they are and why they do the work they do. And that really helps, counteract what I talked earlier in the podcast, this idea of distrust. It's like if people get to know the people serving them, it definitely changes the dynamic and the conversation.
That's
so what we're trying to do is really develop excellence through professionalism. And we're wanting to share the values that have always been here, but that haven't been communicated. And so the only way I know to do values is to go to the people who are demonstrating those values every day and building the identity of the organization, which are the employees. And so what we did is we created a organizational values team. And what they did is they went out to the departments and they asked for volunteers from every department, and they developed a structure that really was all about hearing from employees. So we have about 1,300 employees. We heard from 700 as part of this process. There were focus groups, there were surveys, and it really was taking the language that we heard from employees and putting it on paper, and management wasn't involved at all. This was really driven by employees. I didn't have the opportunity to change any of it. I didn't want that. I was very impressed when I saw the final values, and there's things you would expect, but what the team did really nicely was talk about what that means for us, what it looks like at York County, and we're going to integrate this in all the things we do. We're going to integrate this into performance reviews. We're going to integrate it into job recruitments, and we're going to integrate it into employee recognition. So we're really trying to care for employees through the values, but also let new employees know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's kind of maybe the value of it being a separate from the strategic plan, is that it can be truly employee driven. So that and then it's like you're right. It's not management saying these are what our values are. It's like truly, this is what we expect of one another as employees at the county.
Exactly, and I think that's when employees can tell if it's genuine or not. This is not slick language. This is their language. It's not something written by somebody that's out of touch. This is something that they spoke into, and we all need to be able to explain it. And what better way to do it than have it driven by the folks that are going to be talking about it and demonstrating it every day out in the field.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, like one of the values of one of the good things of values is it sets the expectations of what residents can expect when they interact with employees, and if people aren't living up to those values, that you can that's a way to hold them accountable. So
Exactly.
that's a great point about building trust and like using values as a way to do that. I love that as a it's not just something that sits on a shelf. It's not just something that's on our posters. It's, hey, this is what it means to like interact with the county.
Yeah, and if you don't have that experience, we will be apologizing to you for sure.
Yeah. I love it. So can you rattle them off the top of your head?
Yeah, sure. So respect.
Put you on the spot. Yeah,
I can for sure. Respect, dedicated, integrity, knowledgeable, friendly. Oh. And then, I think what I really like that the team did is underneath that, they developed, quick kind of intros to that. So when we talk about being friendly, we're talking about service with a smile, being helpful. You're not always going to be able to say yes, but working towards yes. I think that's where you get a high value in these, is if you have the ability to really speak to what it means for your organization. Yeah. So being knowledgeable is you're ready and able when you need to be. Having integrity is doing the right thing instead of what's convenient. Being dedicated is that persistence, reliability, and commitment to do your best. And respect really is about that golden rule: treat others as you want to be treated.
I love it. Those are great ones, and I love that the employees have those kind of definitions, so it makes it easier to understand what they mean and understand what that looks like in the county.
That's right. Cool. And then the more you recognize employees that are acting out these values, the more you're helping to define what they are too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're reinforcing it over time. Yeah. So, I mean, we're a little over our time. I apologize already, but
man, look at us, just chatting it up. I haven't gotten to ask you any questions yet.
And that'll happen after the podcast. No, I'm just so before we wrap, what's next? What are you working on that our listeners should look out for? What else is coming down the pike for York County?
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're trying to fine tune a new economic development plan. We're getting ready to kick off a trail master plan. Both things will be transformative for our county. We're working on assessing our utility infrastructure. We have a new utilities director. We spun out that into its own department this year. And so we're going to be looking at our urban service boundary this year and making sure that we're making the proper investments for the future. We're doing a number of plans, looking at an impact fee study, amongst other things, as we build out our CIP in a more comprehensive way. And then we're about a year away from starting a comprehensive plan update. So there's a lot of things we need to do before that to make sure we have all the pieces to speak into that new 10-year comp plan update. So a lot of exciting things going. We're in year 2 of implementing the strategic plan. This really is the bread and butter year of implementation. And so we've got a lot of things started in year 1, but now we got to go finish stuff in year 2, because as you know, year 3, you're half working on developing that new plan.
Yeah.
And so we're going to work hard this year and get a lot of implementation done. And then we developed our first adopted or budget book this year. So previously the ordinance was online, but we created our first budget book, which we're all very proud of here. And we're going to double down this year to have a dynamic online budget book in our next budget process. Trying to get everything out online, give people more information, be more transparent in our decisions.
Yeah, going for that GFOA award.
Yeah, totally. I told the team we're applying. Come on, here's the criteria. We know what we got to do.
I love it. All right. We'll patiently await your award-winning budget document.
Yes.
Well, awesome. Well, Josh, that ends our episode for today. But I've got the hardest question, as you know, to close us out. If you could be the Gov Love DJ and pick the exit music for this episode, what song would you pick?
Well, because you're such a family man now, I I have to go with one of my favorites. So my music, like my books, has changed.
Okay.
And so kids listen to music. I like to jam, rock out, but I got to think about the kids. So one of my favorites now is Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors,
Okay.
and he's got a song called "Family." I think you're gonna like that one
Love
because
it.
Ben is a family man.
I love it. That's perfect. We'll get that queued up. I was laughing a little bit when you brought up Blues Travelers because I was rocking out to Counting Crows this morning with the girls. I was just like,
Dude, I went to a Counting Crows concert in college. One of the best concerts I've ever been to. So yeah, I'm with you, man.
true dad rock. I don't know.
It really is.
Yeah. So with that, Josh, that ends our episode for today. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me and being a great friend of the pod. We really appreciate it and really enjoyed catching up and talking all things York County. So thank you.
All right, Ben, we'll be coming to visit.
Yeah, you better. And next time I'm in the Charlotte area with any time to kill, you're getting a call.
Look forward to it, buddy. So good to catch up, Ben.
And for our listeners, GovLove is brought to you by Engaging Local Government Leaders. The best way to support GovLove is to become an ELGL member. You can reach us online at elgl.org/GovLove or at our page on LinkedIn. And you can register for ELGL's 2025 conference right now. It's happening October 1st through 3rd in Santa Rosa, California. Go to elgl.org to sign up today. And lastly, subscribe to GovLove on your favorite podcast app. If you're already subscribed, go tell a friend, a colleague, a neighbor about this podcast. Help us celebrate 10 years of GovLove, which is unbelievable, as we've already talked about. And 10 years of GovLove being the go-to place for local government stories by calling our hotline 720-282-1752. And with that, thank you for listening. This has been GovLove, a podcast about local government.
Like a photograph, baptized in the water, put me on the map. All in this together, we're taking a chance. Like birds of a feather, pick off our shoes and dance.